Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dee Reinhardt with Illinois WorkNet. Today we're going to be talking about social media, recruiting, and hiring. And our guest speaker today is Chris Larson, who is a search and placement recruiter with the Barton Professional Group. Welcome, Chris.
Well, thank you very much.
If you have not had a chance already, the handout for this session is in the file pod between to the right of the chat pod. So you can download that there. It will open up into a new browser window, so just be aware of that. If you do have problems hearing on your computer speakers during the course of the presentation, you can dial into the number at the right here. It is 866-803-3878, and we will get started with our presentation today. We're going to be talking about social media and recruiting, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to show you this video by Eric Qualman about how important social media has become in our lives these days. So I'm going to pull over a video and play this. Now, if you are on the telephones with us, you will not hear this music. There is just music in the background. But if you want to, you can watch this video a little bit later. The live link is in the PowerPoint presentation in your handout. So we're going to get going with this video right now. every time I speak to a group about how important social media is, I include that video, and it never gets old watching it. So here's the link. If you didn't get a chance to see it, it is a live link in your handout. So if you download that PowerPoint or the PDF presentation that's in the handouts, you can do that and see that. One of the things that I want to do, and just so that Chris and I have an idea of what you use these days, if you could fill out these poll questions here of what kind of social medias do you use to recruit new employees? And you can answer more than one if you'd like. When Chris and I were prepping for this presentation, she wasn't aware of using some of these tools. Which ones were you using all the time, Chris?
I was using primarily LinkedIn and Facebook and a little bit of Twitter. Since we spoke, I actually went and looked at Google+, and that's another really great resource as well.
And we're going to talk about all of these. So let's close down this poll here, and we'll get started on the rest of our presentation. So why do people use social media? And first and foremost, you want to make sure that you are using it as part of your overall marketing plan if you aren't already. What it does is it helps you demonstrate your company brand and your culture when you're trying to hire new individuals. So it helps you build awareness, it helps you provide thought leadership, it helps you generate contacts and leads, and that's important not only in promoting your products, but also in getting those valuable employees that will do you the most good. It also helps with customer support and advocacy so that when there is a customer issue, many times they will reach out to the company on social media, and if they don't find you there, they can get a little frustrated. What are the best platforms for you to find potential employees? And we're going to talk about all of these, but in most cases, most people lean toward LinkedIn. Wouldn't you agree with that, Chris?
Yes, I would agree with that, definitely. I know that I do about 90% of my recruiting off of LinkedIn. I don't really use very many other resources at all.
All right, so we're going to give you some tips here about how you can promote your hiring needs on some of these other platforms. So if you are looking for good employees, here's a couple of steps that you can follow. You want to create a job posting on your website. You want to share that job posting link on your other social media platforms. You want to ask your employees to share it to their network because in most cases, in days gone by, a referral, would you agree, Chris? A referral was the best way to find a new employee.
Absolutely.
Somebody recommended them.
Very much so, yes.
So then they also want to probably try to create a discussion in groups about your job posting, participate in social media to build your company brand, and then post items that will provide job seekers an idea of your corporate values and culture, and especially your employee culture. Use social media to check applicants' work history, and that's a big thing these days. How often do you go do your due diligence on a potential employee for a client?
You know, I very often will go on and Google someone's name just to see what types of things do come up. I know that, you know, this is, it's nice to find out what types of activities, what types of, you know, if they are doing any kind of social activities or work-related activities when we pull them up on Google. So that is definitely a good thing. And, you know, one thing that I would say about working with social media is it can be very, to get started in it, sometimes it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. It can be a little difficult to understand what things you should be participating in. I think that joining the groups is really important, and I also would say that any postings that you can put in really are of benefit. I will go in and share a lot of information on LinkedIn, and even if I don't have a whole lot to say, if I see that some of my connections have posted new work skills or even posted a new picture of themselves, I will always go in and do that just so that I can keep my name in the forefront there.
Exactly. Now, Jerome asked a question. It says, I thought it was illegal to check social media status. And no, it's not illegal to check on them on social media if you can access anything through your profile. It's illegal to ask em- potential employees for their username and passwords. That's what's not appropriate. But if you do a Google search, just like Chris said, to see what comes up, that's fair game. And it's what you should be doing, actually, just to see that there isn't something embarrassing that could happen. So let's move on. What if you need to train some existing employees? I look to this all the time for my own personal benefit, but what if you need something for somebody that you've got working for you, Chris?
You know, we have been very fortunate to have several members of our staff who are very proficient using social networking. So what we've done on our end is to share that information and bring people in to the office and allow them to sit side by side with the person who is actually our social media guru. And we also will do things like when someone shares a job posting, we'll send an internal email out to remind the team to go in and like that job posting. So, you know, you really do have to make this a part of your day and make it part of your routine. And, you know, I remember back in the day, we kind of felt like people were just kind of frittering away time when they were on the internet, and I didn't really have an understanding myself of what a strong tool it really is. But for as far as branding the company and getting the name out there and having recognition, it is a very valuable, affordable tool as well.
Oh, yeah, very definitely. Well, let's jump in right away. One of the things that we wanted to do is go over a number of these platforms so that you could understand how important they all can be to you in your job search toolbox, I guess, for lack of a better word. But when you blog, it's very important to include information not only about your products, but about your company culture and your employees' accomplishments. In that way, you can get people, maybe entice people to work for you, because it's all about how happy they will be when they're there. In a lot of cases these days, money isn't the only motivator anymore. Would you agree with that, Chris?
Oh, absolutely. You know, they're really probably one of the main questions that I get asked is, what is the culture of the company like?
And so when somebody actually uses that blog on their website, and that's the preferable place, is for a blog to be actually on somebody's website. Second best would be to use Blogger, because that is actually a tool that is affiliated with Google. And so when Google search results come up, you're going to see a Blogger blog almost as high on the search engine rankings as you would if it was on your own website. So again, watch people that guest blog or that write comments on your blog articles, because they might be trying to get your attention. That could very possibly be a potential employee for you. Make sure you're checking on keywords for those people, and watch who's writing about the keywords in your industry. They could be what do you call them, Chris? A soft recruit?
Yeah, definitely. And you know, Dee, one of the things that I wanted to mention that we do here is I'm very fortunate to have someone that works with me who does a blog almost every day. We have two different divisions, and he'll um, do a blog one day for our professional search and placement division, and then the following day he will do one for our staffing division. And one thing that's really important to remember is those show up on our company webpage, and then it's very important for all the employees to share that on their LinkedIn account or their Twitter or Facebook or wherever it is that you want to share it. So he'll actually send out reminders to the rest of the staff and say, I posted this blog, everybody please go in and share it. So that's a really good way to get the word out there as well.
Right. And if in addition to those job listings that you post, the blog article might focus on a type of the job as well. Let's
You
move on to the
know,
next platform. Oh, go ahead.
and that is exactly what he does. I mean, we do blog about what the job listings are that we have, but also, there's a lot of people that, will do blogs on, how to write a resume, or we do a lot of things through our company about what hiring trends are looking like, or the best way to work with a recruiter, or, any number of things. So there's a lot of very useful information there.
Right. And when a company like a manufacturing company writes, they could write about how their machinists operate, a day in the life of a machinist. That could lead to that corporate culture thing. Let's move on to the next platform, Facebook. It is the largest social media network, and it has over 1.3 billion users. It's just a mind-boggling number. Not everybody is in the United States, but there's a big portion of those. So one of the things that you do have to do is make sure that you're branding your company on a fan page. One thing that you could potentially do is have a fan page for your business products and then another fan page for your hiring products, what you want to do when you're hiring. So what are some of the things that somebody could do with Facebook? Because you said that you've been using a little bit of Facebook, Chris.
Yes, I have. And what I have going on with Facebook right now is we have a Barton professional placement Facebook page. We have a Barton staffing solutions page, and I also have my own Chris Larson recruiter Facebook page, as well as my Chris Larson personal Facebook page. So I think it's real important to make sure that you're kind of keeping these things separate. But what I have been doing most recently with the recruiter page is to make sure that I go in daily and at least once a day, usually twice a day actually, to list whatever my top priority open job order is that I'm working on for that day.
All right. Sounds like a good tip. Now, one of the things that we look at with the different Facebook possibilities are some of the apps that you can use. And one of the apps that's available is Be Known, and it's a monster product. So when a job seeker is looking for a job, they may go to this app, but if your jobs are not posted on Monster, they might not show up. So, but it is something to go in there and to watch, because those are the things that you could see on those jobs. And then you can also claim your listing through Be Known. Groups. Groups are sometimes the lifeblood of support for individuals. Do you ever have discussions in any groups on Facebook?
I use the groups section on LinkedIn very often, and I actually, this is another real economical way to get the name out there. I go through the groups to do jobs discussions. So if you are looking to hire someone in a specific industry, if you join a group that actually is pertaining to that industry, sometimes you can attract some good talent that way. The other thing that I would say is, and I know we're really dealing with the employer side on this, but for job seekers, that's a very valuable resource to join the groups. I think that the only thing that's kind of unfortunate about it is they give you a limit of 50 groups to join, and there are so many out there that it can be really difficult to pick, which are going to be the 50 most beneficial for what your needs are.
Well, is that 50 groups on Facebook or 50 groups on LinkedIn? I think you might be
50
getting
on
a little confused.
Yeah, on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now, one of the other things that you can do as an employer is place an ad. Not only can you place ads for products and events and different things like that, but you can post ads for employees and set it up by demographics. So if you're looking in a certain geographic area, you could boost a post or place an ad for that help wanted and set specific zip codes. So if you know that you need somebody in 62035, but you're up in the Chicagoland area, you might want to put a post and boost it or place an ad that would have that zip code in it. So maybe you're an energy company and you need a salesperson in a specific area. Consider doing that. Let's move on to the next platform, which is Google+. And Google+ is very similar to Facebook in the fact that you can still connect with people and you still post the same way. The one difference is it's associated with the largest search engine on the internet. While Facebook has that 1.3 billion users, Google has the advantage of being connected with Google+. So what have you found on Google+ these days, Chris?
This is one that I have just recently familiarized myself with, and I think it's really nice that you can actually go in there, and I think that as opposed to Facebook, where Facebook ends up being kind of more brief, chatty kinds of posts, on Google Plus, it seems that there are more more of an opportunity to actually do a blog and
Oh,
to
sure.
really to keep people more engaged as well.
Yes. The other thing with Google+, the difference is using the plus symbol in front of companies, people, or things instead of the @ symbol. That's the only major difference between that and all of the other platforms. Now, the one thing that an employer might be able to make advantage of is a Hangout. Everybody, how many of you have heard of Skype? Take the little man at the top of the screen and raise your hand. Let's know who's heard about Skype. All right, we got a couple people here. Good. Just had to wake you up. One of the things that you can do with Google is create a Hangout. And a Hangout is a free version of a Skype call. And you can have 10 people on the call at one time, which means that you could do a screening interview with one person, or you could do a panel interview with people that are in different locations. Maybe you've got somebody in New York, and you've got somebody in Chicago, and you've got somebody in St. Louis, and they all want to interview this one person, but you don't want to fly everybody in. You could use that Hangout to do a call with all of those people. What do you think about that idea, Chris?
I think that's a great idea. I mean, sometimes it's just so hard to even coordinate. I'll have situations where I have to have 5 or 6 people interview a candidate, and with everybody traveling and everything too, it's just impossible to get those things coordinated. So that is another great way to simplify the interviewing process.
Great. Now, before we move on to the next platform, I want to pull out this poll question here. How successful are you currently at using social media for your recruiting? I want to know who said fantastic.
It was me.
I like our All right. We're gonna hide this poll here in a second. Oh, it looks like somebody changed their mind. All right, we're gonna hide this poll here and move on to our next platform, which is our LinkedIn Virtual Job Club Network. Now, I know that Chris is a member of our Virtual Job Club Network, and
I am.
on LinkedIn, you can join groups, and this is where you can join up to 50 groups, and you have to be kind of judicious about what kind of groups you join. My recommendation to job seekers is 10 to 20 industry-related groups and 10 to 20 local groups, and that is pretty much that's pretty much across the board, what I would recommend to almost any user. But when you are recruiting people for a position, you may want to reach out to some job search groups even if you aren't in job search mode, because you can share your open positions in those groups. So how else have you made use of groups on LinkedIn?
That is one of the most popular ways that I make use of those groups. I belong to several of the different job search groups, and I know that all of us are always having to be very careful about where we're spending our marketing money and all of that. So I have found that using the jobs discussion section in some of these different groups is a great resource for putting the job postings out there. The other thing that I have found with joining some of the job club groups is, because of my membership in that, I get a lot of expertise requests on things, and I also have some situations where even if I don't have a position for a person that's specifically looking for something right now, I have a lot of people in my network who I have gotten from those jobs club groups who, down the road end up becoming somebody that I'm able to work with. So it's been a great resource for me.
Yeah, that's really good. The other thing that you can do in um, the groups especially is use the promotions tab. So if you're having a hiring event at your facility, you might want to post that event in any of the industry-related groups to which you belong. And those might include associations. So like if you happen to be have an opening for an administrative assistant, you may want to post that hiring event in an administrative assistance group. Some of them are open and some of them are protected, so you need to be careful about which groups you try to post things in. But when you have that opportunity, you want to make use of that. Let's
Yeah,
move on.
absolutely. You definitely want to make use of that, and those are very good resources. And I know if anyone's looking for any real technical positions, there's several different groups that are related to engineers, and then they really even break it down into different types of engineers. There are IT groups, so these are all really valuable resources.
Good. So now let's dive into LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really important for everybody, and one of the three areas that show up in search results, the search algorithms, are keywords that have been entered in a headline, a skills and expertise area, and the summary. So for you as an individual as well as for your company, you need to make sure that you're spending the time keeping your brand name out in plain sight, and that requires those status updates on a regular basis. Here we're talking about joining the 50 groups. You may want to investigate some of your competition, but the important thing that I've learned about finding people that you don't know what their name is using the advanced search function. How many keywords do you enter in the search, Chris, when you're looking for somebody specific?
I'll start out usually with one or two words, and I will hone it down to a specific location, within a radius. But, I never know how these things are going to appear on someone's resume or LinkedIn profile. So I find that very often I will run one search and maybe come up with a few people and then just change one or two words. Or if I'm doing a Boolean search, I'll put the quotes around a different set of words in there rather than the ones that I initially had the quotes around. So, you just have to be really creative with your searches and don't give up on one search, because, sometimes I'll pull up one candidate when I put it in one way, and I'll pull up 50 when I put it in almost the exact same way. So I usually keep it to about, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 different words, and then just kind of rearrange them.
Right. Now, do you start out where you want a bigger group or a smaller group
You know,
initially?
I usually try to start out with a smaller group. The things that I'm usually recruiting for are fairly specific, so I will take specific keywords from the job description. Um, for instance, I have been recruiting for a very specific type of an engineer, and I am actually using the terminology that would be something that only that type of engineer would have on their resume or in their profile. So I will use that specific word or phrase to see if I can pull them up. And I really want to narrow it down because honestly, when I come up with, 50 or 100 candidates, there's a lot of weeding through that I have to go through before I get where I need to be. So I start small, and if I'm not finding what I need, I broaden the search results or broaden the search a little bit.
Sure. My suggestion when I teach this to HR groups is that they start with 5 or 6 keywords. Enter that. They may get, 700, 800 results, and then set the parameter for the location. So it might be greater Chicago area or greater St. Louis area. That will narrow the search down to maybe 100 or 50. And then they enter one additional parameter. Perhaps it's something in a job title. And that might take them down to 10 people. 10 people is kind of manageable to make phone calls to find out if they're a soft recruit or not. So there's a number of different ways to do an advanced search.
Mhm. Mhm.
Let's move on to, oh, go ahead.
Just one of the things that I was going to add to that, Dee, is I think it's really important for people. I just saw a posting today about this on LinkedIn. If somebody's inviting you to connect, I would really make sure that you're connecting with just about everyone. You have the opportunity to kind of check out their profile before you connect with them. In the posting that I read today, they made a very good point. This isn't a personal social network, it's a professional social network. I have about 1,100 connections, a little bit more than that. When I started really working on this about a year ago, I only had about 200. And of all of those 1,100 connections that I have, I would say that only about 2 or 3 of them have been people that I connected with and realized, this was kind of questionable. So one of my suggestions would be if somebody is reaching out to you to connect, just connect with them. There's probably no harm in connecting with them. And the other thing that I think is a really good tip is there's a section on your profile page that can show you who's been looking at your profile. And whenever I see that someone has been looking at my profile, I reach out to them. There's a button that you can hit on there, and I reach out to them and I send them a note that says, I see that you were looking at my profile, let's connect. So I think that's just another great way to build your network.
Right. I go about it a little bit different way, but when I teach class, my mantra is it's not about who you know, it's about who they know. So why would you
Right.
take the chance of not expanding your network?
Exactly. Mhm.
Let's move on. Pinterest. Now, Pinterest is to women as fantasy football is to men. But have you thought about looking on Pinterest to see, especially for creative types, what they do? And my suggestion to everybody when I talk to them is put your hiring things out on your company Pinterest page. What what can hurt, and it also gives you the good opportunity to post things about your corporate culture. If you have holiday parties or maybe you have a costume contest at Halloween, post up some stuff about your company on your Pinterest page. Don't worry about it just being for your products. What do you think about that, Chris?
Dee, I just wanted to say I knew I was going to learn something new today. Pretty much everything I've learned about social media, I've learned from you. And this is one that I really am, I have not used Pinterest at all. And I think that's a great idea to be posting those things out there. I think that's awesome. And as you were mentioning that, I had recently done a search for a graphic designer, and I bet you're right. I bet I would have found some fantastic candidates through Pinterest.
Right. And a lot of times these people that are posting their stuff are actually contractors that are doing work on their own, but you never know when somebody's ready to jump back into the job market. So it's worth taking a look. Let's talk a little bit now about Twitter. Now, Twitter is a great tool to use in conjunction with your other hiring opportunities. So everybody knows about Twitter being 140 characters at a time. Use a show of hands. How many of you have used a hashtag in your tweets to promote a position? Barbara has. Is that all?
I have. Maybe my little hand guy didn't raise, but I have.
All right. So now, when you're sending out a tweet, well, maybe we should ask the question here. How many of you have access to your company Twitter account? Raise hand. Okay, a few more people have access to their company Twitter account. So the same thing happens when you post a job posting on your website. You want to share that link out on Twitter. If you've done it on Facebook and you've connected Twitter to Facebook, it goes automatically out to two places. But if you put the hashtag for your job in that tweet along with the link to the job posting, people search by hashtag. And if you look at point number 3 on the updates page there, use hashtags like hashtag jobs or hashtag job openings or hashtag manufacturing jobs. When you're posting that job posting on Twitter, use that to make sure that somebody will find it when they're looking. So how often do you use hashtags when you post stuff, Chris?
I do it all the time, especially, when I'm on Twitter. I just did one right before we got onto this call where I used the hashtag to try to attract those electronic design engineers. So definitely use the hashtag often.
Good. Now, the other thing that I used to participate in, I haven't recently, is a tweet chat. When you go into a tweet chat, and especially in an industry-related tweet chat, and you have a job opening, if you post that, that will get out to everybody that's participating in the tweet chat. And I remember on occasion there would be 300 or 400 people watching this tweet chat. And then if they use the specific hashtag, they can go back and do that as a search as well. So you can stay up to date on industry-related information as well as get your posting out, boom, to a huge group of people. So hashtags are critical when it comes to using Twitter. Anything else to add about Twitter, Chris?
No, I mean, I think it's a great resource. The one thing you had talked about the number of characters that you are able to use in these different resources. And the one point that I wanted to bring up too is I see that we've got quite a few participants here, and I really don't know what industries they're from or how long they've been trying to recruit people for. But I remember back in the day when we used to use newspaper postings, and you had to be so cautious about the number of letters that you put into it because you literally paid by the word, and it was very, very pricey to do that. And that's the other really great thing about doing this on social media. You have to be consistent, and you have to go in and do it, and you have to post often, but you're not paying a penny to go in and do this, and it's really a wonderful resource in that way.
Right. And remember back to those old days when you would post the job in the newspaper, you would abbreviate things. Well, that's what you can do on Twitter too.
Definitely.
All right, so let's go to YouTube. Show of hands, How many of you go to YouTube when you're trying to find out how to do something? All right. I would say that would be almost virtually everybody. What do you think?
I think
I'm
so.
thinking that's it. That's what I'm seeing. All right. So when you go to YouTube, what about looking for somebody's resume, a video resume? It's where things seem to be going. And not yet is everybody using one, but it is a big deal these days. And one of the tools that we have on our Illinois workNet resume builder is an ability for a job seeker to create a video resume. So more and more people are jumping on this video resume bandwagon. What have you found with that, Chris?
You know what? I think you are 100% right, Dee. I think one of the things that's very interesting about this is when I look for resumes on YouTube, it's very interesting that it is the younger generation that's doing this, and I cannot believe how creative they are and how interesting it is to look at those videos. Um, I watched one just today for somebody that was a web designer, and it was fascinating that he was able to use just about every tool in his bag of tricks. And you know, they always talk about how a visual has so much more impact than just, you know, reading something or hearing, or, you know, it really uses all of your senses when you watch that. And I got a very good sense of who this person was and what their talent skills really were.
Yeah, yes,
It
very
really
true.
makes them stand out above the crowd, absolutely. And I think it's really exciting that you can do this on Illinois WorkNet. I'm going to go do that. Just
Just to play a little bit. We also have another tool that's called Resume GPS, so that if you are looking for an employee, you can check in through Resume GPS and find those employees that are on Illinois WorkNet. Uh, One of the things that I want to remind you about is YouTube is the second most searched tool on the Internet. So if you're not using YouTube for your company yet, you you need to check into that. Okay, so now what? You want to make sure that you're sharing on a regular basis, that you're participating in groups, keeping your eye out always for those possible employees. Then you want to make sure that you're engaging with individuals and finding those people that want to engage with you. Be consistent so that you are posting on a regular basis. As Chris said, she and her coworkers have somebody that blogs something almost every day. Well, maybe you don't have time to do that, but if you're going to do something, try and be regular with your schedule. And just keep building your presence. Make sure that you are posting about products, employees, your corporate culture, and everything, so that it's not just the same old, hey, I'm going to sell you something kind of thing. Find news in your industry. There are probably trade organization newsletters that you could share a post for an individual in. So watch when people share your information. When you're at a conference or a trade show, collect business cards from other attendees or vendors, connect with them on social media, and as we mentioned earlier, referrals are usually a great source for any valuable employee, and it probably can come from a social media referral as well as a face-to-face referral. Become a mentor. If somebody reaches out to you because you are an industry leader, take that opportunity to develop that relationship, because that person could become a potential recruit. What do you want to think? What would you like to say about that, Chris?
You know, I think that is so important. And, you know, I have been involved in a lot of internship groups in previous positions that I've held. So I still have a lot of connections with people who are either still in school or just very recent graduates, and I really get a lot of messages from those people quite often, and I always keep in mind that, these are the people who are going to be the engineering managers and the human resource managers and these people that I need to have contacts with, and I can tell you that I want their impression of me to be the professional person who responded back to them when they reached out to me. So absolutely super important to be a mentor to those people. It might take a few extra minutes out of your day, but I think, it's something that will come back to really pay you back over and over again by doing that.
Right, right. Good point. Network. Social media is all network all the time. When you're looking for employees, contact your network. And as we mentioned earlier, it's not about who you know, but who they know. My network is probably almost, well, I know it is double what Chris's is, but only about 10% of the people in my network is people that I have not ever shaken hands with. And I kind of keep it that way just because I meet a lot of people. But if you don't have that possibility, reach out to them on the social networks and make sure that you trade follows with people. Social media and the job search. Make sure that you're creating a presence on social media platforms. Use networks to reach out to soft leads. Find and follow industry news and organizations. Use social media to broadcast and connect during trade shows or conferences. Find people to mentor on social media and build a relationship with them. And network using your new social media presence. When you have job openings, those people are going to come to you. It's like that old saying, if you build it, they will come. Well, if you have a position, they'll come. Just make sure that you're building that relationship.
Dee, I think one other thing that's super important is you have to remember that, any kind of social media, you have to go into this with like a pay it forward kind of mentality. It's so important, and you never know where you're going to be down the road, where the person that you're connected to is going to be down the road, who they know, what they're going to be looking for, and this is really your chance to help somebody out, and it's a great opportunity.
Great. So we've got a whole social media guide that's available for job seekers as well as employers. I just uploaded today 6 videos, one on each of the platforms that we talked about, with little how-tos on how to make sure that they're going. And I'm in the process of getting some one-page guidance tools up to help people. So what I would like to do right now is I'd like to pull over a couple of poll questions and talk and have you guys answer these questions. What kind of positions would you consider using social media to recruit with? And have you had a great social media recruiting success story? We also have, as Chelsea put in the chat pod, we have another page on our website that is recruiting and hiring tips and resources available for all of our employers. We've just rebranded Illinois WorkNet, so if you haven't been there recently, you may want to go take a look around because the website is beautiful now, and it's organized in a different fashion, and it has pages mixed in where you might find tips on a page that you didn't think you would. So if you'd like to add a comment in one of these poll questions, we'd appreciate that. I'm going to move them up here. And if you need to download the handout, you can do that in the pod up there. We've got a couple of people that have added. I'm going to move to our last slide here. Please join us on our social media. Follow us, like us, friend us, fan us, whatever the phrase is for the particular platform. Follow us with LinkedIn, Google+, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube. Um, Chris Barton, Chris Larson from Barton Professional Group was our guest speaker today. I'd like to thank her for taking the time out of her schedule today to help us. That was
Dee, thank you so much for inviting me to do this. And you know, one thing that I know I had mentioned earlier that I learned just about everything I know about social media from Dee. You know, I really am sincere about that. And if somebody else needs to learn any of these things, I actually had Dee come into one of the previous companies that I worked with to help us with some training there. And it was really, really helpful. So thank you for giving me this opportunity, Dee.
Oh, you're welcome. I'd also like to thank Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity for sponsoring Illinois workNet. We appreciate their guidance and support. And if you have any other comments or questions, please add those into the chat pod for us. Otherwise, if you want to take a moment and answer the polling questions, we will be ending our recording. And again, thanks very much